this is Irontrader, and this is Midday Trading. So I'm going to take a look here today at, we're going to put them side by side. We're going to look at Bitcoin, and then we're going to look at the ETF IBIT, which is a 1-to-1, and then we're going to look at the short ETF, BITI. We're also going to look at ETHU here and a couple ETFs along, ETHU and ETHD for the old short. Okay, this video is for information purposes only, not a recommendation to buy something. It's talking about ETF. Please like, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Here we have Bitcoin, and then we have the 1-to-1. This is owned by BlackRock, and they have 52 billion in assets, so this is always a good one to trade. Now, I've been trading the BITX, which is a 2 times leveraged, and then here is the BITI, which is the short for old Bitcoin. Now, before we get started, tomorrow, I mean, the market is all red today. Now, remember, Powell's going to have his speech tomorrow in Jackson Hole, so we got to see how that's all going to shake out. And then remember, next week you got a lot of big earnings. You got Nvidia is going to be coming out here. You got Dell Computer coming out there. You got a lot of stuff that's going to be happening here and then by the end of this month. So you got to stay really, really sharp. All right, let's take a look here now at Bitcoin. All right, so let's just see here. Now, what we have here is we made a higher high and a higher low kind of a situation. All right, so what we're really watching is the bottom of that candle, that 112,485 level. That's going to be very, very crucial. Now, if we lose that, we're going to come right to the top of this candle. You're looking at 111,220, and then we'll go to the top, 110,265, and then we have the 109,685 at the top of that candle. Then we go to the bottom, 112,590, and then we come at no, what am I looking at? 110,865. Sorry about that. And then we have the bottom of that, 107,840. And then we'll come to the bottom there at 107,680. Then we'll be headed for that old 100 SMA. Now, if we compare that to say, here's the long situation. So we look and see, we just went right past that 50-day. And if we look here on the IBIT, it's pretty much the same exact chart. Okay, because this is a 1-to-1. Now, the BITX will be just a little bit different because that's a 2 times leverage. All right, so what we're watching on here, if you're trading this, is we look at the bottom of yesterday's candle. You're looking at 63.74 level, all right? And then we do the same, pretty much the same situation. Then we're going to be looking at 62.94, okay? If we lose that, then we'll come to the top of that candle at 62.47 level. Then we'll come top at 62.11, and then what we do is we just follow this bottom candle at 61.40 level, and then we come to the bottom there at that 61.78. Level, and then we're going to come down to this level right here, which is 61.25, and then we have that 53 level. So if this falls off the map and comes all the way down to that 100-day, this will do the same kind of a scenario. So this is a 1-to-1. This is a very, very good, easy one to trade. Now, you can look at the RSI. See, it's very, very, everything is similar. We had that negative divergence where we had a high, higher high, high, lower high, same thing on the regular Bitcoin. And you can see your MACD, everything's the same. Now, this is just the opposite of what we're looking for, okay? So what we had here on this, we had this low, then we had a lower low. We had a low, and then we had a higher low. So we had positive divergence going on here on the old short ski. Now, if we take this back up here, what we're really watching is going to be this 1882. But first of all, we want to get and close above this 1871. That is the 50-day simple moving average. Now, if we can get above that level, then what we do is we're going to come right on top of this candle. We're looking at that 1912, and we just keep on taking it right up, 1950. Then we'll bring this price channel across. We're looking at 1968, and bring that channel across. Looking at 2011, and then we can come all the way up here to that 2122, but you have the 100-day right before. So it's just doing just the opposite, on the ETF. So again, this is an easy way if you want to say, I want to short Bitcoin. Now, for me, I haven't used this ETF because I've been just trading this and scalping this from the long side. Okay, the BITX is working very well, and it doesn't really, if you get caught, it's still paying a huge 11%, probably almost 12% dividend here now, okay? So that makes a big, big difference kind of a situation where I say if you're in there by the 27th of the month, the BITX is going to be payable on the 28th, so you do get a dividend while you're waiting, okay? I just think Bitcoin is going to go over a higher kind of a situation. Now, If we start losing all these targets, say on Bitcoin, okay, you start losing this 112.40, 485 level, and we start heading towards that 100-day, then I will jump into the shorty, because if we're going to hit this 100-day here on the downside, we're going to be looking at hitting this 100-day here on the upside. Okay, so always look at that. Now, if you look at 1868, you can go there to 2052. But again, at 1868, you can buy, easy a good 10,000 shares here, and we could take that bad boy right up to there, and that would be a really good trade kind of a situation. And then if it keeps right on rolling down to the 200-day, this down to the 200-day, we can take this up to the 200-day at that 22.38. So this is a really easy, very, very good way of trading the old Bitcoin on the short side. All right. So now what we're looking here on the Bitcoin is we want to get above this 50-day, this 113.710 level. Then we're going to be looking to the upside at 114.640. We look at today's high, 115.30 level. And when we come to the bottom of that candle, you're looking at 116.295. But what we're really looking at is going to be right here, this 21-day, 117.237 and that 117.301. That's going to be very key because you can see how it's rolling over. Now, when you look at the IBIT, we've got the exact same thing happening here. So what we're looking for is a close above this 64.33. Then we can go to today's high, 64.77. Yesterday's high, that's that 64.99 level. Then we can creep all the way up to here to 65.81. But what we're really looking for is that 66.25. And that's 66.32. So if this blasts up to this area, this for me would be a selling point where you take some of your, your position off, at least half your shares, until you can see where it could crack above. And that would be the same here. So if you're trading this, we have a good range from that 50-day, okay, at 64.33 all the way to 66.25 level. Okay, very, very nice. Now, that would mean the short, if it rallied, that's mean the short here would be coming off, and we'd be looking for that 18.13 mark, okay? And then we also come all the way down to the bottom there, 17.68, and then we have that 17.18 level here, okay? On the short, on the downside, that would be the retest. But again, no one says that this is going to be rallying right back up. This could very, very well come all the way on down. Now, again, if Bitcoin rallies all the way up to this level here and can't do anything and comes flying down, and this here at the BITI would be selling off, that could be a good buying opportunity if it got back down to this level to take this right back up again, okay? So two-way trade, this is an easy way to do the short ski on the Bitcoin, easy way to do the long on the Bitcoin, okay? And then obviously there we have a Bitcoin there in progress, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the same kind of chart, but I'm going to put the BITX instead of the IBIT, okay? All right, what I did is I just put the BITX in here instead of the IBIT. So this is the two-time leverage. Now you can see here how different this is compared to what you actually have your Bitcoin situation, okay? You can see here where the 50 days way up above here, because I say, again, this is a two-time leverage fund, okay? So then you can see how much that 8-day and 20-day, 1 day already rolled over. Now, if you can't handle the juice, okay, like a two-time leverage fund, don't trade it. Just trade the, the IBIT. That's what you want to do, okay? So let me just put the IBIT on here right now. Right, here we have the IBIT, okay? So you see it lines up very, very nice with the actual Bitcoin. And you can see the difference in the scenario on the charts, all right? So when you see this 50-day sitting everything hanging right around there, okay? Hanging right around there. But look at this 50-day, this is lost, all right? So now always remember that this can go up 2 times, but also can come down 2 times, all right? So you got to be able to handle the old juice. So if this thing starts selling off all the way down here to this 100-day, okay, we have a 100-day down here at 52.73. This will probably blow past it, and we come down to this 50 mark here very, very easy, okay? So just remember, as this is going 1-to-1 kind of a situation, this is going 2-to-1, so this will be coming down a lot harder, all right? So maybe that 56, we ain't going to be handling that 52 mark. We could come right down to the 50 mark, okay? So if you're trading this. But again, this does pay that 11% dividend here. Matter of fact, just let me check and see exactly what that dividend is. All right, I just checked that dividend. It's 10.43% on the BITX. So it's going to be paying out about 62 cents a share for every how many shares that you're going to have here on this BITX. So that is always one way that says, hey, even if it does come down, and I think that eventually Bitcoin is going to go much higher, you can always collect that dividend on the way. And then if it does sell all down to this level, then you can add to your position and say, hey, I have a good buying opportunity. So a lot of times I'll do this in like three kind of a section. I'll have a long-term position in BITX, which I have, okay? And then I can also do swing trades, and then I can also do day trades kind of a situation. And that all works out very, very nice, okay? But you can see here how we had this high, but we never made a higher high on the 2 times leverage. Where you look at the single, you had a high and a higher high, the same as we have on Bitcoin, okay? So just remember, and when you're trading the juice, you got to be prepared to handle it in both directions. Okay, let's take a look here now at this Ethereum here. Okay, this is, I don't trade this, but this was pointed out here in the old room there today by my buddy Jet, and he seems to really like this, and he said this is going to be going crazy, and I think, and I don't doubt it for a second, but again, always remember that you can't trade everything, okay? So just always remember you can't trade everything. I like trading oil and natural gas and gasoline and, okay, the big oil ETF XLE, okay, and I love trading the technology sector. I think that's always a very, very good trade, especially now with this AI. I think you're just at the beginning of all of this, okay, and I like trading the Bitcoin, okay, so that's what I like. But again, if you are trading this, let's take a look at the chart and see what we have. Now, again, these are leverage funds. These are ETF kind of a situation. There's your long and there's your short situation. All right, now you can see here how nice this is just rallying up here very, very nicely. Okay, so obviously it just topped right on out. But we got right to this bought condition, and now she came right on down. However, you notice that we are holding this 21-day, just like we held here, which is always very good. So on the downside, you want to watch that 135.17. That's going to be very crucial. If that's lost, look right to the left of the chart here, 127.69. That's going to be your key. Now, there is a gap. Okay, at 119.44, that'll be your next support. And then we have your fill at 114.44. Okay, right there, 119.44, 114.44. And then we could come down to this level here, which is looking at 102.62. Then we have your 200-day at that 98 level. And then we had the 50-day at the 98 level. Okay, so that could be your downside situation, but you have to lose a 21-day in order to do that. Now, so far we have this indecision candle. So what we're watching is yesterday's high, 154.52 level, and then we're going to come up to that 159.62. That is your 8-day. Now, if we can crack above that, all right, then we come to the bottom of that candle. You're looking at 165, and then we'll look to the top of that candle, 169.48, and then we have 175.80, and then we obviously have your retest there of 186.68. Now you can see how fast this thing can move. Okay, so you got to be prepared for that. Now here on the downside, this looks like a very, very bearish chart because I think this is going to be going much higher. Okay, so basically what we're sitting right around this 8-day situation at 391. If you can get above that, we'll come to the 21-day at $5, and then we have this retest at 655, and then we can come up to your 50-day down at that up at that 926 level. Okay, but right now this doesn't really look like anything that I would want to get involved with. This is just like, wow, this is just tank city. And then we have these sideways action with these little candles. The only way I would want to get involved with this is it has to close above that 50-day, and then we could take it right on up, maybe possible 100-day, possible 200-day. But right now we want to watch on the downside is that 3.37 level. Okay, that's going to be very, very critical on a closing basis. And obviously, if that's lost, hell, that could go down to $2. That could go right out of business. You know what I'm saying? I mean, then they'll do a reverse split kind of a situation, and then you'll take it right back up again. And I always hate that. If you're in an ETF and they do a reverse split, all of a sudden they take down the shares, and it just disrupts the whole charts. It disrupts everything. So if you're trading this, I would just trade it on the long side situation. This still looks like a very, very bullish kind of a chart. It came up, it consolidated, and then ran up again, consolidated, and now we're just having a consolidation above this 21-day. So bottom line, watch that 21-day on the downside and watch that 8-day on the upside. This is going to be trading range. We crack above that 8-day, we got a good shot at retesting that 186 level. We crack below that 135 level, then we got a good shot at testing this 102 level and that 98 level. All right, that's what I got for you. I'll be back here after your pit close, and we'll take a look here at Bitcoin, gold, silver, crude oil, natural gas, and we'll take a look at the indexes, which are all red. Now, remember, Powell's got that meeting. He's going to have that speech tomorrow, I should say. And I just don't see where he's going to be cutting rates. Now, they're really talking about maybe he'll be raising rates. I don't think that's going to happen either. But I just think he's just going to stay solid, with no cuts, leave everything the way it is, and let this play out a little bit. So we got to see, but that could really, really affect the old market. So just always remember that, okay? Trade what's in front of you, not what you want.